How do you approach the last two games now with the way the results have gone?
We approach them to try to win them. Mathematically, we're not entirely out of it. Plus we're professionals. Plus we are playing at home in front of our fans, and they deserve a performance, I think, and a committed team. But I think we need to go out and need to win and try to put a little bit of pressure on Columbus in their last two matches and see if. If they want to give it to us, we'll take it. We have to take that approach. So I know RSL went to the finals, I think, one year, and they needed a series of final day events, and they got them and got into the playoffs and went on a run. So, it's out of our hands, but it's not completely, the door's not completely closed. But for us is to continue to build, continue to work hard, continue to fight, and like I said, put a proper match on for our fans in the last home game.
What went wrong in New York?
I thought we were pretty comfortable and I would say under control for 21, 22 minutes. It seems like when teams tend to get a little bit of the game on us for short stretches, that we fail to come up with the necessary play or a series of plays to get the game back into our control. We end up taking a goal, and I think it was kind of no different in New York. It was not what I would consider it was a goal we should have dealt with. It was a play that we should have dealt with a number of times. We should have been able to secure the ball. I thought just leading up to their stretch of possession that led to the goal, we had a couple opportunities to secure the ball and get the game back under control and get possession and put them in their half of the field, and we tried to rush passes. And in rushing passes, we lost the ball and just put ourselves back into a defensive posture. And I think us maturing as a team is understanding how to manage the ebbs and flows of games, and then I think there's still an extra 10 or 15% that I firmly believe that we need to give when we're defending to prevent crosses, to stop, not to just go, oh, well, if we hit the cross, then we'll deal with it in the box. No, we need to work harder to stop the cross. We need to work harder to stop the service, the final pass. We need to be sharper about a lot of little things in and around our box, but. I think, again, for me, it was 3 soft goals just off of a calamity of errors in a way on each one.
Is there an irony that the team you're chasing is the one that you've beaten 3 times this year?
I suppose there is. That is. I thought about it, but I didn't dwell on it. But yeah, that is. We needed to pick up points from other teams. It wasn't that team that got us in the end. And there were points left on the table. In this league, you got to be stingy about every single point through the course of a year, and we let too many little points slip away, and especially at home.
Do you plan, Hagelin, have you had a chance to watch it again, the red card?
Yeah, I didn't think it was a red card. I watched the game yesterday, and almost a very similar play happened at the back post. I don't remember exactly who was involved, but ball was crossed. The attacker goes up to head the ball. He heads it on goal. And he went over top of the defender, and his arm was out in a normal jumping motion. And when he headed the ball, his arm didn't take the head off of the defender. It just is. He's going strong to the ball to try to win the ball. I think there was nothing blatant or intentional on Nick. He was just going up for the ball hard, and so yeah, I think it was harsh.
Is it something that you can challenge with the league?
I think we'll put forth. I don't know all the ins and outs. I know we've done that earlier this year, but I think they need to review it. I think there is everybody believes there's a natural jumping motion that requires you to lift your arms up, but if you're not leading with an elbow with intent and to injure, then I think it should be considered. Yeah, for sure.
Did anything happen to Nick today? He seemed to leave. It seemed like he was coming off with a knock or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I need to go. He slipped out there, and then the next thing I know, he was kind of walking off and having a word with the trainers and guys. So I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'll take a look at him when we go in.
I know that you weren't in charge until later in this season, but this team needed to score more goals this year, and it has scored more goals than last year, but it's also given up more. And it seems like, from the cheap seats anyway, that there's a problem with the defense in the midfield, like space, and I guess it's the whole team. But why is that happening? Am I correct? Why is that happening? It seems that there's just too much space.
Yeah, I think even when I look at the last 3 goals, there are 3 relatively different reasons why we gave up each goal defensively, all of which are things that we need to be better at and tighter at. Understanding how to use offsides as a tool to keep our lines tight as one, and in the end we gave up a goal where we were a little bit deep and kept a guy on side, Dax, on the third goal, and there's a number of them. It's our line, making sure our back four work as a unit, not as four individuals. It's our midfield, making sure that they're a unit, and also protecting our back four. So I think that there was just a little bit of disconnect that in certain key moments keeps haunting us, if you will. And it's not just, it's disconnect across our back line, and it's disconnect from our back line to our midfield from time to time. And so those are things that you got to grind out and work through, in my opinion, in the preseason, and really iron them out. Because over the course of the season, you have to switch guys here and there, because things happen over the course of a year. But everybody have to read plays as one. We can't read the plays as four individuals or as 8 individuals. We have to be able to read every play similarly and respond similarly. And when I watch us, we look at particular actions. And we have different guys reading different actions with different responses, and those little breakdowns are what's costing us goals. And they're soft goals. They're not amazing goals. They're goals that we should be able to deal with.
You're certainly not talking like someone who's thrown in the towel, which is fair enough. But
right.
Has the reality of the situation kind of set in, that this is out of your hands and that it's really going to take something special for you guys to pull this out?
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm well aware of where we are in terms of our points and playoff situation. But again, I think for me, it's about building a culture and about building of winning. And every time we step on the field, we need to go out to win and to believe we can win. And if we make the playoffs, that would be amazing, because the events that would have to transpire would be interesting. But for me, it's much larger than this. Is to break a streak of not making the playoffs means that we have to change a culture, and then we have to change what we're doing on a day-to-day basis to have higher expectations and higher standards of ourselves every day we come out to train and every day we step on the field. That's the only way we're gonna break it. There isn't any other way, and I think for me that's why when we step out, whether we have the chance to make the playoffs or not, we hold the same standard in every training session and the same expectations, and they have to be those that expect win and expect something better than maybe we've been putting out there over time.
Do you yourself feel any more pressure or frustration with the way it's gone since you've taken charge? Obviously, the change is made. Obviously, to right the ship, to get better results, to improve, to get to the playoffs, and the results probably haven't gone the way that you want or that the club has wanted.
Yeah, I mean, my frustration is just that. I mean, we wanted to make a push for the playoffs. I think, by and large, there's enough talent in the group, individually and for sure on paper. But the key is that those things have to come collectively together on the field, and you have to make plays. What really hurt us, for me, is not getting the Houston home game. That we really, really needed to get that. And we would have been in a little bit better mentality, I think, going into New York on the third game of a week, because we wouldn't have had to necessarily go to New York expecting to have to win. We could have made some other decisions. I don't know if that would have necessarily changed us, but I think our mentality would have been better. So I think that hurt, because that was a game that we should have come away with more out of it. But you have to execute, and my frustration is because I know there are the city and the fans want more, deserve more. Many of them have stood by this team for many years and are just dying for a playoff match, and I want that for them. So that's my frustration in this, really, and that we need to get there. We need to get that done for them.
Greg, this isn't a team that you were allowed to build because you weren't here in the preseason, but you've got a couple of leaders in Caldwell and Bradley who seem to lead by example, the kind of people you'd want in a foxhole.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not sure I'd want to be in a foxhole with Michael Bradley, but are there others that you feel are not committed enough? Michael seemed to suggest that they should. There was a talk to him after the game Saturday of the need for real commitment. Are you not seeing it in some areas?
Well, I think what I think is important is that we have players that are here that want to be here, don't want to be anywhere else but here, and not for just 1 year, but for a few years, because this is at a minimum a few years, because again, in this league, to win, you have to have a core group of players who's very committed, who buy into the philosophy, who are willing to stand and live up to expectation on every single day. And I think that's sort of what Michael is maybe alluding to. I'm not going to go through the locker room or each guy and say who I think is or isn't, but I think we need to get guys who are here, and I think we have a very good core group of guys that believe in this project and want this club to be successful and are ready to work every single day. We ask them to work. We need to add some pieces for sure. I mean, the way the team played prior is not the same way that I would approach playing the game. So what I would say is that we would have to evolve and adapt in a few pieces in terms of personnel and things that we need to be better, and what I think is better for the league and for the style of play that we want to get to. But the most important thing is having a group that's committed for the long run here, that where we can build a core group of players who's committed to winning over time. I did, when I was at Chivas, we sat down with our staff there and we went through every team that had won a championship in this league, and every single team had a core group of players, 8 to 9 players, who had been together for an extended period of time, and they were all what we call positives for that team, whether they were leaders or hard workers or fighters or good players who bought into the system, and every single team had that, and then had a supply of players that fit with those group of guys that did roles or did various things. We need to get to that. We need to get to that core group of players that's here for the long haul and understands and is committed to winning.
Forgive me for asking this, but people will be interested just because you have a vision for this club. Has the club itself given you any indication about your role as coaching after the next 2 games?
In my discussions with both Tim is that that I would be in the position going into next year, that we would continue to build on the team that we have and the core group of players that we have. We will add pieces, and we will continue towards a vision of what's set forth more for the long term. But the long term for us also includes next year and taking really positive strides on the field.
So I'm sure you would want a full season to try this and not be parachuted in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, preseasons are critical, and then you have early games that you can build on and learn a lot about your team and about your individual players. But I will say that having the experience of this postseason, when there's pressure and there's stresses, and that you do learn a lot about guys when everything is on the line, because in MLS, in the first half of the season, you don't have that sensation, you don't have that feeling of pressure and things really being on the line, and so you learn a lot about guys in these final sort of stretches when pressure. I heard an interesting quote yesterday. I was watching I think it was a hockey game. Excuse my ignorance in hockey, but they talked about that a team tends to fall back to their training habits when pressure really builds, and I think that's a little bit of what we came into, which is we were a team that trained for much of the year to sit, to try to withstand pressure and counterattack. And I felt like what really got us in the pressure moments was we got a little bit conservative. We were afraid to kind of really go after the game. And I don't mean in opening ourselves up and committing ourselves and getting in trouble, but I mean when we are after we were under pressure a little bit, being able to go get the game back and not just absorbing, but go take the game back and take control of the game. I felt when we were under pressure, we became very passive and very sort of just sitting in our shape and taking it attack after attack and not really fighting to get back in the game. And I think for us, that starts in just training repetition, and it starts in the preseason and setting an identity early and building some successes that you can fall back on over the course of the season, especially when pressure builds.
When you talked about building a core and having 8 players that have been here for a long time, and that takes a long time to build. How much is this city kind of to blame as far as the media, the hype, the pressure, whether it's Toronto FC, the Raptors, the Leafs, whoever, that pressure of winning and not maybe having the patience to have the 3-4 years needed to build a championship team?
Yeah, I don't.
Kansas City might be able to do it faster, would you think, with the lack of coverage and pressure?
I don't know if anyone can do it faster. I think it's just pro sports in a way, and I think the city is. I don't think the city's to blame. I think we have to have a plan and stick to our plan and go with it, and we have to earn the city's belief in what we're doing. And I think that's the role of the fan. I mean, we ask the fans to come out and spend a fair amount of money to show up and support the team and watch the team. The product's got to be interesting, and they have to believe or understand what the plan is and believe in it and stick by it as well. But for me, it's our job is to entertain and get results. And so I don't necessarily blame the city. I think we just need to get to work, and we need to create within our building and within our training quarters and every day standards, winning standards, and meet those standards every single day, and that needs to become who we are. For me personally, I've said this before, I haven't spent a lot of time reading media or news blogs or anything else because none of that influences what I'm going to be doing with this team. And for me, the conversations I have with each of these players behind closed doors and as a collective group and understanding what we're doing every day is the most important thing. It's interesting because now we live in a world of social media when everybody's opinion is out there, and if I could encourage our guys to concentrate on what they're doing, then that would be the biggest thing. But I absolutely don't think the city is to blame. I think we've got to get ourselves on a path and get the right pieces that are really, really ready to fight for one common philosophy, one common theme, and put it out there every single week and train with a purpose every single day.